The confession was delivered in the blue light of the kitchen, just after midnight. She had shed her coat, still buzzing with the cheap exhilaration of the corporate suite. I was reading a book, perfectly still. She didn't look at me when she spoke. "I need to be honest, David," she announced, her voice flat, practiced. "It happened tonight. With Martin. Martin, her CEO. The man whose image, all sharp Italian suits and generational wealth, was plastered across her vision board." I closed the book. Gently. The sound was too loud. She saw my stillness and mistook it for collapse. She stepped closer, her expression shifting to one of irritated impatience. "Don't be dramatic, David," she snapped, waving a hand. "It's just one night with my boss, the man I've dreamt about since our marriage." She said the last part with a small, cruel twist of satisfaction. Her contempt was the true wound. The casual dismissal of 12 years, reduced to a single night of career validation. I met her eyes. My own were calm, empty. The rage was not external. It was a slow, internal pressure building behind a titanium wall. "Okay," I replied. That was all. Simple, clean, final. She blinked, expecting tears, a scene. She got a period at the end of a sentence. The conflict was never about fidelity. It was about power. Martin was nearing the culmination of his life's work, a $3 billion merger with a massive competitor. Olivia, as the director of strategy, was obsessed with being at his side, seeing it through. She hadn't cheated for lust. She cheated for the access, for the perceived upgrade in influence. The marriage was just a placeholder she planned to discard once the merger made her untouchable. She walked away, relieved by my apparent surrender. She thought she had won her freedom cheaply. She thought I was the house husband. She thought I was safe. I waited 5 minutes, then accessed my remote workstation. 12 years I had hidden my true profession. I wasn't just a boutique financial consultant. I was the anonymous chief compliance architect for the independent firm hired to conduct the final, critical due diligence for the competitors board, the very firm Martin's company was merging with. I was the shadow gatekeeper, the one whose final report determined life or death for the deal. I had spent the last 2 months meticulously flagging every minor regulatory risk, every speculative venture, every single potential conflict of interest Martin had swept under the rug. I categorized them as yellow flags, warnings, easily manageable. I did this because the collapse was not yet necessary. But in the 7 hours she was gone, my hands moved quickly, coldly. I didn't need to gather new evidence. I only needed to reclassify the old. The minor risks became catastrophic liabilities. The speculative ventures became unacceptable ethical violations. The entire 800-page report was structurally sound, but the conclusion was now rewritten. I hit the encrypted send button at 4:30 a.m. The final, damning report landed directly on the desks of the competitors' board and the primary regulatory commission. It was too late for Martin to intervene. The process was now automated, audited, and irreversible. I watched the clock. The sunrise was pale. I drank my coffee. The phone rang at 9:17 a.m. It wasn't Martin's corporate line, it was his personal cell, routed through the house phone. I let it ring. Olivia rushed into the kitchen, her face gray, clutching her own phone. She answered, her voice tight with anticipation, then fear. Martin wasn't talking. He was shrieking. The sound was tinny and sharp, audible even from a distance. "The merger is dead! It's over! The SEC red flagged the entire compliance review! Who the hell could have known about the Cayman shell accounts? Our internal audit was clean!" Olivia stammered, "Martin, I don't know." He cut her off, his voice escalating into a hysterical, desperate shriek. "Who exactly did you say your husband is?" I walked slowly toward her. Her face was a landscape of devastation, suddenly understanding that the fire she started was consuming her own life. She held the phone out, shaking, as if offering me the wreckage. I took the phone. I didn't speak to Martin, I spoke to her. "He wants to know who I am, Olivia," I said, my voice low and steady. "Tell him I am the man who reviewed his due diligence report at 4:30 this morning." I watched her eyes go wide with the final, terrible realization. She had slept with the man who held the key to her ambition, completely unaware that her husband was the architect of that key's destruction. The emotional betrayal was paid for with the annihilation of her entire career and her lover's empire. I hung up the phone. I placed it gently back into her trembling hand. "He's not your boss anymore, Olivia," I stated, turning toward the door. "He's just an unemployed felon under regulatory investigation." I didn't pack a bag. Everything I needed was already external to this house. I left her standing in the kitchen, surrounded by the debris of her ambition, clutching the dead phone. I drove away. There was no regret, no victory lap, just the quiet satisfaction of a complex problem perfectly solved. She dreamt about Martin. I simply erased him. I was free. I have generated the cinematic script, focusing on the psychological intensity and the calculated financial revenge, ensuring the word count and structure are meticulously followed. This narrative is designed to maintain extremely high retention until the final, shocking reveal.